What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Faith and Failures. Today I have with me a group of two ladies that are excited to share their story and to talk about their ministry. It's called Hales Angels. A little bit of backstory. I have a few questions for y'all. Now, I've talked with you more than I have you personally, because by proxy you are
right.
I'm married. We're both grafted into the
family
to the family by marriage, but y'all seem very close. Like I saw, we were swimming at your house and you came over. I was like, who's that? They look like they're related. Oh, that's her sister. Y'all just like were in your own little world talking, chatting back and forth. Have y'all always been that way?
No.
You don't think so? I thought we had been.
Well, I mean, I think when Mom died, there was a little bit of a separation period time. But I think that's what brought us closer together because our mom died. So
okay,
I was the youngest and I relied on her. And
so now, were you the mom? Is that why it brought you closer together, like in that scenario?
No.
Or
I mean, she always felt like she was the parent,
right.
but she didn't ever really parent me.
Okay.
Because she was married off when my mom died.
I do still parent her now.
Well, she tries to get a hold of me,
Somebody's
but that don't work
out. Somebody's got to do it.
You even call me mom sometimes.
That's because it aggravates her.
Jessie has that. She was making the sisters and the brother write sentences and say, I will not do this and I will not do that. That was Jessie's job, apparently.
Yeah.
And they still talk about it to this day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. We've just been very close the last probably 25 years. Because I went through a period of rebellion and you know, I couldn't bring Jesus with me.
Right.
You know, because you don't want...
But
Jesus, go to those places.
But Jesus chased her to those places.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Now, are y'all the only two siblings or are there more of y'all?
We have two brothers. Well, we had two brothers.
Right.
Our oldest of all of us, he passed away 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I knew it was pretty soon, not too long ago.
Yes.
So, were y'all close as a family, like all of y'all growing up? Or was it y'all that were the closest? Or was everybody kind of equal in that department?
No, we weren't close.
We weren't close at all.
Mm-mm.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
No, we were. Well, you have to understand, this is what I was going to say the other day at church was I was born into the perfect family. Okay, and what I mean by that is the perfect family for me.
Right.
Okay.
Because
I believe that too.
Yeah, we had all the sins known to man were in our family. We started out with a dad who came back from Vietnam who was a drug user and an alcoholic. And our mom was Cherokee Indian, and she was one of 11.
13.
Well, there were
Actually,
13 of them, but
yeah.
one died when they were little. And they were all very wild. I mean, you think of Indians in the movies. Okay, that's how they were. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, yes, scalping, fighting. You know, our mom actually has. We actually have a photo album that we take when we go and speak, and we pass our photo album around. And it's all the mugshots of all of our family that's been in jail because that's where we came from.
Whole album full of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Our mom, our dad, our brothers. I was 4.
My 3 sons.
Yeah. She's the only one that hadn't been to jail, and she keeps wanting to, but she's scared.
I'm too scared to go.
Want to? It's on my bucket list, but I haven't got to it yet.
She wants to be in the album so bad.
Now, I have sat inside the holding
That
cell.
doesn't count. It
But
was
my
a
sister-
tour.
yeah,
It was a
my
tour.
sister
We were
says
going on
it
a
was a
tour.
You can't count that. That does not count at all. No, you can't count that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, that
and
doesn't count.
and I'm on the cover because me and my
I'm
cousin.
on the
I don't think this should count either, though.
That's like if you like the famous people in magazines, like they make the cover.
Yes.
She made the cover.
Yes, I made the cover. At the age of 4, me and my cousin went to rob the bank, and we got picked up by the police.
An actual bank.
Yes, an actual bank.
Wow.
And so that tells you a little bit where we came from. So we,
How the mindset
Yeah,
works
I mean-
at the age of 4.
I'm sorry, it's still you made the cover. That's so good. You have like a little picture there or something all. Yeah.
I mean, just bad of the bad, you know. In our town that we grew up in, how big was the town? I always think it's small.
I think it was like I think at the time where we were being raised there, it was like 29,000 some odd.
Yeah.
Was the population.
Yeah.
But our mom's family, they were like the mafia of that town.
Really?
Like everybody knew them. Everybody knew not to jack with them. You know, we hear stories about our mom was like the toughest woman that anybody had ever seen. She would go in bars and fist fight men. And
Just
so,
for fun?
well, she was going in there to get my dad, drag my
Okay.
dad out.
Yeah.
And so she's fighting everybody that gets in her way.
But
Wow.
people knew.
Yeah.
Like when she would come into the bar.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch those movies, and I guess it's maybe the Westerns, you know, with John Wayne and that type of thing, where he busts
Why are you
open the
quoting?
saloon doors.
Why are you
know?
quoting movie quotes? You don't even know nothing about movies.
I know, but I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to cross over.
She saw it once.
I'm trying to
And it
cross over.
counted.
There's not too much
Now
I
she's
do.
a movie critic. It's like
Okay.
she's a jailbird.
Oh gosh. But it's, well, I mean, I went with Mom once, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, to go get my dad.
Look,
And
my
so
fourth
she says-
birthday party was in the bar.
This is true. We have a picture of that.
Really?
Yes, my
Yes.
fourth birthday party was in the bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was only family that
But
came.
But our aunt actually owned that bar.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we had the party there, but anyway, I guess because they could drink.
and they
But
had,
none of your friends could come.
no,
Uh,
all the cousins were there. We got 115
living
living
cousins.
cousins just on
That's-
my mom's side.
Now, that's the last time we counted,
Yeah,
you know,
Wow.
which was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I can remember my mom going with my mom one night and her saying, you stay in the car. So it's like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, when she pulled that car up,
it was at the front door.
I mean, it was but it was like she, you know,
Slid in.
slid in.
This
to the-
West Texas, so dirt's going everywhere.
Oh yes, can you imagine that? I mean, this is a movie going on in my mind right now. Anyway, so she, you know, busts in the door, you know, and like I thought, I'm gonna go in, you know. I mean, so
You dumb.
I went in, and I mean, it was like, you know, the Red Sea parting.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. You
Well, and
know?
our mom was like we don't look like our mom. We look like our dad. Our mom was like 5'6", 5'7", 5'8".
maybe,
You know,
That's
she
tall for a woman.
yeah, she was a
Yeah,
big
she was
woman,
big.
and she had like
but
she was all muscled.
She was like Amazon like.
Yeah.
Though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
She was the one that had the shirt.
Yeah.
Stretchers.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
She beat up our dad.
Yeah, that is true.
You know,
Really?
yeah.
Mhm.
So she was very tough. So that's where we, you know,
That's where
That-
we get our toughness.
that's where we came from. You know, and
That's
I
why
mean,
arms are so huge.
am I tough, sister? Or is
yeah,
it
you
just
kind of got mom hands. I mean,
I do have. I've always wanted to be the petite
Yeah, she's
woman,
not.
but it's like, no, I'm not.
You're not. And you got mom's legs. They're just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
shorter.
Yeah, that's true too.
You're compact version.
Yeah, you are.
I don't think I'm as mean as mom was though.
No, you.
I
no.
think you are.
Yeah,
You're the meaner side of mom.
yeah. I got longer time with her.
I'm the
Your side of all.
I'm
Those are the
the
qualities you got.
I'm the sweeter side of mom.
Yeah. Was there a
theirs?
sweet side?
I don't know. Anyway,
Well, she did take in strays all the time.
yeah, she was sweet.
So now, being from the crazy kind of jailbird house family, was your family always there? Like your parents stayed together?
Oh
Well,
yes,
yes.
yes,
Really?
faithfulness, yes,
Yeah. Really?
absolutely.
Usually,
Mhm.
that's kind of the
Yeah. No, our dad loved our mom,
But
and our
even-
mom loved our dad.
But our
It was just a very unhealthy kind of love.
Yeah.
And even when we moved from West Texas to East Texas, it got better, but it was still unhealthy. It wasn't. I mean, my mom finally told my dad, "Look, you know, I'll let you drink, but only on the weekends. You know, we're not gonna keep doing this. I'm not gonna keep chasing you."
Well, I think mom.
I think she kind of
tried to-
settled him.
I think she tried to ground him.
Yeah.
You know, I think she tried to settle him, help him.
yeah.
Now we didn't really find that out
Till
until
later.
About
We didn't understand.
well,
Yeah.
about 2 or 3 years ago, when our mother died, 35 years ago, 36 years ago,
34, 35, somewhere.
something like that. There was a family Bible that belonged to my mother that was given to my uncle. And so about 3 years ago, I had traveled to Arkansas and he had given me that Bible back, which was very hard for him, you know,
Yeah.
because he felt like this is the last thing that I have of my sister. And so, but he gave it back to me with tears. And as I looked through that Bible, we knew that in the Bibles, our mother kept like important things to her.
Yeah.
And in that Bible, there was like an AA certificate, with my dad's name on it. And so we knew then
That she tried to help him.
that she was trying to help her dad.
That's
Yeah.
a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then when we moved from there, from West Texas to East Texas, and we kind of got settled, and our life was a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
And maybe normal.
Whatever normal is.
What was it that changed about the location?
Dynamics.
Yeah.
Well, our mother got cancer, for one thing.
But also,
But she kind of stayed sick, and they didn't really know what was wrong with her. So she was going to the doctor all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, too, moving from West Texas, from all of the family, that all the family out there, it was always bars and poker and bingo and fighting, and that's just the way the family was. And
Our
is
family
and
dynamics.
probably is still to this day, but maybe not as bad. But once we moved from there, we moved here where there were no family. So my dad didn't have friends and family that he could go out and drink with, and my mom wasn't having to chase after her siblings and help them and bail them out, and I guess maybe they could focus on each other. Maybe
the dynamics was still there. It just wasn't to the same degree.
Yeah.
It wasn't to the same level. It was to a lower level.
because our dad
the
still
way I
did.
see it.
He still did drink, but it was just limited, and he smoked weed, which we were not supposed to know. But I mean, you
can't
can
really
say
hide
all
that.
day long your kids don't know what you're doing, but they know.
Yeah.
It's you just you live in the house,
So when you left the house, were y'all at the international standard of 18? You move out of your own, or did y'all leave early to rebel against the life you got brought up on? Like how did y'all get out of the house and start on your own?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm thinking about your sister,
Yeah.
and yours is.
Well,
yours is-
when our mom died, I was 12, and she was 19, and she was already married and had a baby.
Oh, okay.
So
So you were already out.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, she was already out. I was not. Now, my dad, because of the love that my dad had for our mom, he couldn't, his way of dealing with things was to get rid of everything. He didn't want to see anything. He let our house go back. He gave all her clothes away, all her jewelry, all her everything, her
everything.
furniture, everything. And previous to that, him and my mom and my dad and then my sister and her husband had bought some land together. And it was through the VA because my dad was a veteran. And once my mom died, it paid the land off. And so my dad moved me and him out to that land into a lean-to.
Now, we were already on that property.
Yeah, they
John
were in
and
a
I
trailer house.
Now, were you in this whole time when this is happening and you're moved out, you're married and having kids and stuff? Are you saved, or are you just doing your own thing?
Am I what?
Are you saved?
Saved?
Did you know Jesus?
Oh, she was
absolutely.
she was
Okay.
when she was like 9, 8.
I was 7 when I was
Yeah.
when I received Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But now I have a story about when I was 4 and knew
It wasn't going to rob the bank.
She was going to the bank. She was going to the bank. I was going to get the Bible. True story. True story.
Yeah.
So you've been with Jesus for a while.
Yeah, and
Oh.
she
Jesus
never
took a while.
she
My
never
whole life.
strayed.
My
Really?
whole life.
Yeah.
Yes.
She never strayed. She never done drugs. She never drank.
And like
I think maybe
my-
there is a story where she did
What story?
did you drink when you was in that guy's underwear?
Oh, Lord, yes. Goodness gracious. Yes.
You were
Don't
in
even
that-
tell that story.
In that guy's underwear.
Yes.
That's always a
because
good segue into a good story.
Because let's see, I was probably this was before
14?
I was married, 15
15?
maybe. And we used to always go to Brother Dave's, which was a restaurant in White House. And I didn't understand, my dad was always drinking. Our family
Our brothers.
members were always drinking. Our brothers, just everybody that we were surrounded with. And so I just thought, what is the big deal? I don't understand. And so we were all at Brother Dave's one night, and everybody was drinking. All these kids were drinking. And which is probably not a good story to be telling on somebody.
It's closed down. It's fine.
But anyway, so then I started drinking, and next thing I know, we were at this person's house, and of course my brothers were there, so my brothers would not have allowed anything I don't think, to happen to me. But all I can remember is I was in there by
She
the
probably
toilet,
had one
and I
drink.
was so, oh gosh, I was so sick.
You felt sick?
I was so sick. Well, I was over the toilet sick. I don't know how we got from Brother Dave's to this house. I don't know.
From one drink?
From
Probably one drink.
Oh,
it
that
was-
was your interjection.
It
probably
probably was one of what did Dad always get for Christmas, for the Christmas gift from his workplace? Jim
Jim
Beam
Beam.
or whatever. Okay, it may have been that with Coke. I guess.
Yeah,
is how
one
you
loaf.
mix that. Well, anyway, I was
Look, I was sipping the suds that poured off my dad's can.
It took her
She
quite a
missed
bit.
that step.
I missed a lot of steps. But anyway, I don't know how we got there, but I was in all I can remember is being over the toilet throwing up. But I was so sick and it was like I wound up peeing my pants
While over the toilet sick?
while I was over the toilet sick. I don't know how that
You were close.
I
You
was.
you almost made it.
I've been close on a lot of things, but I don't ever make it somehow. But anyway, so my brothers are like, okay, get her some of your sweatpants, and so they gave me these sweatpants. I don't even know how.
And this
that
man's
happened.
underwear, so she put them on.
There was men's underwear in there and you end up in them.
Yeah. So, well, it was
They
a guy
gave-
that lived in this house.
Yes, he gave her some
so
of
there
his
was-
clothes.
So there was no women, I don't think, that lived there. I don't think.
Probably
but
not.
anyway,
It was a
I
party
do
house.
remember one guy. I said, I just need to go home. And so this guy says, here, I can take you home. And I can remember one of our brothers saying, she can't ride a motorcycle home.
It's strange the things you remember.
But I remember even the next day being so sick at my stomach and being over the toilet the next day. And I thought I can remember thinking, Lord, I don't get it. This is just blowing my mind.
She never touched it again.
No, after that, it was like,
I guess
okay.
God gave you that experience so you wouldn't.
Well, and that's the thing about my life is I have always had like a hedge of protection. I mean, where
Yeah,
they
because we'll tell stories and she's like, "What?" And we're like, "Dude, how are you so sheltered?"
Okay,
How? I don't
do you know the
understand.
story that's coming to mind right now is when we were at cousin's house and all of y'all were talking and y'all were talking about the brothel.
And she's like, "What's a brothel?"
I'm like, what's a brothel? And my
It's a
cousin,
type of stew
yeah,
with broth in it.
yeah. And my cousin's like, were you raised with us? I mean, because like all of them are talking about it and they're laughing and I'm just like, what's a brothel?
And so you're not even the oldest. So you were in the middle of everything and still don't have a clue.
I do.
It wasn't like you were older and you moved out and you got out of it quick and it was,
Yeah.
you were there somewhere.
the whole time.
Yeah.
You were somewhere.
The whole
Yeah.
time.
It
And
just
I'm
got
st-
worse. It got worse after my mom died because my dad and them went from weed and alcohol to heavier drugs. They went to cocaine and meth. And
Yeah.
all kinds
our
of
one brother done heroin for a while. So when my dad got rid of all my mom's stuff and he moved us out there into a lean-to, which we lived in that lean-to for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, with no water, no electric, in the winter, in the summer, this is where we lived. And it was, the lean-to was made out of a A-frame, if you know what an A-frame is, and a tarp that they put on the back. And somehow, I don't remember how, but somehow they came into which usually they stole stuff.
Yeah.
So they may have stolen stuff. But they found a bunch of bricks. And so that we had a brick floor. And then we had a metal drum that we built fires in. And so that's how I was 12 and 13 and I would get on the bus and go to school and I went weeks without showers.
I was gonna say, what did y'all do for showers and drinking or
We didn't.
eating and...
There was a lake down the road, and I'd go down there and play around in the lake for a little while. And sometimes I may have went to your house. I don't know. I avoided her house because of the man that she married, John.
Mhm.
He was an alcoholic, but he was a very abusive alcoholic, and so I hated him.
So you knew he was an alcoholic when you married him, but you stayed with Jesus?
I didn't.
Or it
Oh
was-
my goodness! I've
Yes.
always stayed with Jesus. Yes, absolutely. I didn't. I don't think you
You don't
I didn't
think
recognize-
that he's an alcoholic. You just
I didn't
You're in love with
recognize that he was, you know. And then the first 11 years of our marriage, but the way that I battled that alcoholism, well, first off, there was a story about my mom when I was little, you know, and now I understand that my mother had been battling it. That you know, it's spiritual warfare is what it is. I mean, I understand it now more than I did then, but my mother was battling that alcoholism, you know, and I remember one day where she said, you know what, if you can't beat them, join them. And she did. And so
that's kind of when it fell apart.
That stuck in my mind. And so when I was battling, and that was a gift from God.
Yeah.
Because when I was battling that spirit of alcoholism, I can remember giving it to the Lord, you know, and there was a couple of times where, you know, we were in it was my husband's, it was more verbal and emotional than it was physical. And I can remember 2 different occasions where I thought, you know what, if I can't beat him, I can't do that. Because I knew that that's when it spiraled out of control for the kids that were involved. Yeah. And I loved my kids. And so I was just like, I can't. And I would go to the closet. I mean, I just knew within myself, the Holy Spirit led me to the closet, I guess to the wilderness, I mean, you could say. And I just laid prostrate in the floor and I just said, Lord, I don't know what to do, you know. And
she was like the prayer warrior of the family.
It was about,
she prayed us all out of our darkness. I do believe it, without a shadow of a doubt.
And that is still occurring today.
Yeah.
For the family that we're talking about, this is still occurring today. But there's a story. I mean, there's always a story about our mom too. And
well, our mom.
I have to let you tell that part,
when
sister.
Our mom, when we moved to East Texas, and our mom was getting sick all the time, they finally found out that she had colon cancer, and she winded up. They pulled a 16-pound tumor out of her colon.
Wow.
She had to have a colostomy bag, and she had to have a port.
It was a port that went into her heart, the main artery of her heart, where they would give her radiation treatments.
Yes. Wow. And so when that was going on, my mom had decided to start going to church. And she started taking me to church, and we were going to Tyler Metro Church. Mm-hmm. And
what are you smiling?
I love. Well,
she lit up when you said it.
Yeah,
because there's so much to the story.
Well, she, as we were going to that church, she received salvation, and then there was one particular Sunday where the pastor was talking about being baptized, and well, she was sitting in the pew and she was crying, and then she went up to walk the aisle, and of course I went with her because I was only like 10, and it was just me and her that went. Nobody went with us. And so she had told the pastor, you know, that she wanted to do this. She wanted to be baptized, but she couldn't because she had that colostomy bag and she couldn't be submerged underwater. Yeah. And so she was crying, and he said, no, ma'am. He said, baptism is not the most important. He said, you received salvation? And she said, yes, sir. And we knew she did because she totally changed. She went from being a fighter, punch you in your face if you talk to her, to being a, oh, well, it'd be fine, you know, moving on. Okay, she was a totally different person. Yeah. And so he told her, you don't have to be baptized. Should you be baptized, you know, to honor God and to let the world know that you're following him? Yes, but if you can't, that's not your way into heaven. And she said, well, I want my family to get this. How do I get this to my family? Because, you know, none of my family has salvation. And he told her,
this is a to me, this is a woman that's dying. Yeah. She knows she's dying.
Yeah.
And her most important, I guess, legacy, we could say, was for her. I mean, at that time, we probably had 90 people in the family on my mother's side, 90, 100 people then.
Yeah. And all her siblings were alive. She was the first one of them to die.
Yes. And
wow.
Besides the baby that died when it was a baby.
Yeah, a week old or something like that, I think. But her most important question was, how do I take salvation to my family?
How do I get them to get it? You know, and he said, you just tell them your testimony. You tell them how you came to Christ, and you tell them what he did for you. And so that's where she began. And through her death, we've learned that her dad, her mom,
Receive salvation.
and her sister, one of her sisters, before they died, all received salvation. And so, and it's just been carried on. I mean, it's drifting down. So yeah, I mean, and that's where our ministry is called Hales Angels, because our mom's maiden name was Hales, Hales. So that's where that came about. We wanted to honor her, and
but leave the legacy of Jesus Christ.
yes,
So our purpose is the legacy of Jesus Christ, but the honor of our mom.
yes,
You know, and to carry on her, I guess you could say her dying wish.
yeah.
You know, and to bring it to take her dying wish and bring that to our family.
Yes.
So to this day, I went to visit with my uncle a few weeks ago, which is the oldest uncle, the oldest brother. To our sister, who is now, and now he went to church. Him and his wife went to church, but they also had left West Texas, and so they were living like in Alice, and it was just their family.
Yeah.
And so we've since discovered that, and to this day, my cousin, which is their only child, you know, he's been reading the Bible a lot, but he also buys like booklets for his dad, who is, I think he's 80
something.
Oh, let me not misquote my uncle's age.
Yeah, but he looks like he's about 60.
Oh, he does.
Really?
Yes, he's like.
But he buys these booklets for him, like Mark. So
Yeah.
he reads through Mark. Then he gets Matthew, you know, Luke, John. And I think he's in Romans now. And then we have another uncle. His name is Texas Mac.
Yeah.
And
That is his name. That's his name.
and he started a Bible study group at his
Yes.
house in West Texas, where we were born and raised. And he does this Bible study group that now goes from one house to the next to the next.
And several of our cousins attend that Bible study.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, really it's all about God, where he pulled us from. You know, when our mom died, it became so real. And she was the first one in our entire family to die, for it to be a tragic death where everyone was.
But she was the oldest sister.
She was the oldest sister.
You know, so that also puts in a like a dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, in the family.
It crushed a lot of our family.
Mm-hmm.
Her death did, and I think that played a part in what happened with us and our brothers. Was instead of having God as our foundation in our family, we had each other put in the wrong role.
Yeah.
You know, and we had our mom up where she shouldn't have been.
Which happens
And,
when you're in a
And when we
family
lost
of
her,
addiction.
You got to cling to something.
yes,
Somebody's got to be the foundation.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of times people don't realize it when they say, "Oh, she's my rock," or "Oh, he's my rock," or
But my mom was never my rock.
we should have never put her in that position. She should have never been a rock, because she wasn't. She was human.
Yeah.
And so when we did lose her, it crushed us. And my brothers and my dad took it the worst. I think I took it a little, but I was so young that I didn't quite understand what was happening. The
lives spiraled more out of control.
I went into survival mode.
She was kind of the glue.
Yes.
Holding everything together.
Yes.
Everything started falling apart.
But
Yes.
now Jesus was always my rock.
Yeah.
Like I didn't look at my mom as my rock.
Well, she couldn't. You couldn't, because Mom didn't. She didn't treat you.
Well, she didn't favor me. I
Right.
think.
Yeah, she didn't treat you
So
the right way.
She didn't like you?
I think.
Are you?
I think that she loved me. I think that she was very busy trying to help my dad. I think.
Well, and our dad favored her. And so I think that maybe that might have made my mom like kind of push her a little to the side. Maybe not meaning to,
Right.
you know, because we love our mom.
I just think
You
she
know,
was very busy.
but we're being
trying
honest
to
here.
Hold it all together,
You know what I'm saying?
I
We're being
think.
honest. We want people to know that in your family, the dynamics, if God isn't your foundation, it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's you're gonna have an unhealthy family. You just are.
That's true.
And our dad, I mean, he like went way out, and our brothers did too. And when we moved out onto that land and we're living in that lean-to, it wasn't just we're homeless living in a tent. It was we're homeless on this land, and every criminal, every drug addict, every alcoholic came there. They knew it was the safest place to party, to
Run from the law.
I mean, to hide.
You got released from prison. Where do you go?
You come out there and hide, because we'll hide
Really?
you.
Now, was it y'all's land?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it wasn't just random land. It was actually
No, it was ours.
y'all's.
It was ours.
Okay.
Because when our mom died, it paid the land off.
That's right. Okay.
And so at one point in time, after the lean-to, my dad had somehow bought this little tiny trailer house that could probably fit in your kitchen here.
Mhm.
And but we still didn't have any water or electricity. And we lived in that. And the parties got bigger and more people. And I was learning I was trying to survive. I was almost raped twice. Once it got really, really close.
Not just people out there at the party?
Yes. And the one that it got really, really close with, that man actually did go to prison later on for raping a 13-year-old. And so, but he was on me, and he had my pants down, and I was struggling. But a guy that was like a brother to us, you know him, Barry Brown.
Okay. Barry Brown.
Yep, he was
man.
and to this day he's like a brother to me.
Yeah.
He actually came in and seen what was happening and got the guy off of me and said, "Hey, nobody's supposed to be in the house. I don't know why you're in the house. You're not supposed to be in the house." And but I didn't realize at the time, God didn't reveal it to me till a couple of years ago, that was the time that I decided, okay, God's not protecting me. Nobody's protecting me. I've got to protect myself.
Yeah.
And so I went into, I would put on 2 and 3 layers of clothes. I would go into my room when they would have these parties, which this trailer house had those little sliding doors, which, I mean, you could knock them off the hinge, you know what I'm saying? But I would put up this cot that I had, because we didn't have furniture, and I would put it up against the door, and I would lay in the cot up against the door so that if somebody did come in, I would know that they're trying to get in.
Yeah.
I learned to stay up all night and sleep at school. And then I was getting in trouble at school because I was sleeping at school.
Yeah.
And so
don't take showers unless you have protection in the house.
No.
You know, things like that.
I didn't go to other people's houses and take showers because I was scared. I didn't recently start taking showers in my own home alone until about a year ago, when my daughter said, I had told her she was leaving, and I was like, "Hey, Sin, can you wait so I can take a shower?" And she was like, "Why can't you take a shower if I'm not here?"
So you never said this to her before? Nobody knew this?
No.
Nobody knew it.
No, I didn't even realize that I was doing it.
You suppress it,
Yeah.
Until it's revealed to you.
And I think what happens is when you live a childhood like I had to live, it becomes your normal.
Yeah.
So you don't think of it as a insecurity or a flaw or I'm not sure what's
or
the
like
word.
an unhealthy
right
decision that you made.
Or trauma.
Maybe trauma. Yeah. So
we make decisions based on the trauma.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those decisions are not they're based on fear.
Yeah.
So fear doesn't come from the Lord.
Right.
So the actions that you're taking and that you're raising your children in are not healthy.
Right.
So it was just a simple, you said something to your daughter about staying there, and it clicked.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was
Wow.
like, she said, "Why can't you take a shower while you're here in the house by yourself?" And I was like, "Because somebody might break in." And she's like, "Yeah, some random person's walking around the house, Mom, looking to break in to come get you out of the shower." And I was like, "Okay, that does sound a little crazy." I'm like, "Okay, Sam, you can leave. I'll take a shower."
For our kids, right? They're so honest. Yeah.
But you do these kinds of things, and I think what happens, and this is the beautiful thing about it, is through my life, the decisions and choices I made before Christ, before I had Him, was who I was. But when He entered, He slowly begins to clean your life out because he wants me to be closer to him, and he can't have me living in fear because I won't take a shower.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's releasing me from the prisons that I've imprisoned myself to try to avoid hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I even realized too, this is what I was going to tell you earlier, when I was almost raped and I had closed God out because I was like, you don't got me. You know, I'm going to have to get my own self. A year or so ago, about the same time, I realized that God did protect me. That guy did not rape me.
Yeah.
He didn't make it. God sent Barry in to rescue me. It wasn't Barry that rescued me. It was God that rescued me.
Yes.
And so it was like my perspective was wrong. And God has
Which
to
happens
change
to us a lot.
And he has to change our perspective because we're overcoming, we're healing. And then through that process, our perspective has to change so that I can go out and do what we're doing now. Because there's other children out there who have been raped, who have been neglected, who have been
sex trafficked.
You know, and they need someone to be able to say, you know what, that happened to you, but God can use that. You know, you're not broken.
Romans 8:28, you know, how God takes things that, you know, have happened to us or things that are bad and turns those to the good.
Yes.
You know,
and that's what he does
in our lives.
Yes.
Sanctification.
Yeah, and I can remember after all that, you know, being 13, and I tried to kill myself. I actually took the razor blade. I done it the long way, the right way. Yeah. And blood started coming out, and I started freaking out, and I was putting toilet paper on it, and I was wrapping a sock around it. And I was crying because I was just like, you know what, God? And I may cry about it, but I've healed from it. But it's when I talk about it, it's beautiful. It's real, you know, because I can see where I was and where I am now. But I can remember thinking, you know, God, if you just get me out of here, you know, I'll serve you for the rest of my days. And he sent Aaron, which we did go about it the wrong way. We got pregnant and then we got married.
Well, you didn't say you would serve him perfectly, sister. You said you would serve him.
Right, and I still failed him.
It's hard to get down this order we're supposed to do. I mean, my goodness. I was reading the Old Testament the other day. I'm like, holy crap, how can they keep track of all this stuff?
Yes.
Like, man.
Yes.
So many things.
There's no way.
You gotta do that.
Yes.
You gotta do this. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Are you talking about Leviticus?
I'm so glad that you love me, Lord.
Yes, I am, specifically.
Yes. I'm so glad that we live under grace.
Oh yes.
And not the law, because I failed.
I would be a terrible Jew.
Me too. Me too.
I'd be the worst Jew.
Me too.
I've not been a very good Gentile, but anyway.
Yeah. And so we
I feel better about being a Jew.
I know that's right.
Than being a Jew.
Yeah. But then I can remember those words so plainly because once I got out of it, me and Aaron did not put God where he was supposed to be. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm out, I'm free, and here's my knight in shining armor, and we can just live life the way we want to. Well, I didn't realize that Aaron was an alcoholic. Okay? So I just thought we drank together. Well, when I got pregnant, I quit drinking because I just done it because I hated my life and I wanted to die. Yeah. You know, and I thought, well, he can just give it up too. Well, he couldn't. He liked it for whatever reason. And I can remember telling him.
She's doing it again.
Because it's rough.
And I don't want to interrupt your thought.
Yeah, it's rough.
You know, but it's like, oh gosh, I just can see beautiful things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, he, where she said, you know, can't beat them, join them, and she didn't finish the word, I did. Yeah. And so I can remember telling Aaron, I feel Satan is on us. We need to get in church. We need it. And this was when Selena was probably about 3 or 4. She had been a little older. Time is kind of.
No, it was about that time because remember she was in kindergarten when you went to Ohio or wherever it was.
So I told Aaron that, and he said, I'm not going to church. And we're just not. And so I was like, okay, well, fine. Then I'll just join you. So then I started drinking with him. Well, then I started going across the street because at this time we were living in that trailer house that my dad had gotten. But we had water and electric then. Yeah. And my dad had a trailer house across the way. And I would go over to my dad's house and smoke weed with my dad. And then it escalated to, this was back when AOL was a big thing.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah. And I had gotten on there and started chatting. Next thing you know, I'm moving me and my child to Ohio. I have an affair on Aaron.
And the whole time I'm telling her, look, you're married. You can't run with single people.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
It's two different lifestyles.
Yes.
Mixed together.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Well,
I
then
learned that the hard way too.
Yeah. Then I come back, and I moved my 2 cousins in to the house with us that are single, and we started going clubbing and drinking and partying. And
You've moved back through an old Indian woman that had turquoise jewelry, which was something that the Lord worked through at that time, at that very moment.
I moved back because of that reason.
Yes.
Yes. When I was in Ohio, I went to a little store, and it was it looked like a little wooden shack, but it was a little old store. And I had went in there, and I was just looking around.
I love how God works.
And
she's smiling, just watching you smiling.
And this little Indian woman had come out, which Indians mean a lot to me because I come from Cherokee Indians, and it's just I'm in awe of them. And
our mother loved turquoise jewelry.
Yes, she did.
Loved it.
She had she had a ring on every finger, and it was turquoise. And this little lady come out.
Fights.
And the little lady, she had come up and she handed me this cross necklace that had a stone in the middle of it that was turquoise. And she said, I want you to put this on and I want you to go home. And I said, what?
This lady did not know my sister.
And she said, I know you're running from something.
It was the Holy Spirit.
I know it was total God.
It was good.
Because she said, I know you're running from something, and I know you're not where you belong. I want you to take this cross, put it on your neck, and I want you to get your kid, and I want you to go home where you're from.
She's been reading your AOL.
Okay. I know that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I was just like, okay. So I loaded up Selena. We got in that truck, and we left, and I came home.
Wow.
It took 2 years of beating myself up. I came back to Aaron, but
of living in the imprisonment of shame and guilt.
But I moved out of our trailer house and I moved into a house in town. And Aaron would come all the time whenever he was at home from work because he worked out of town. Mm. And he would say, I love you. I just want to get back together. And I would tell him, I don't love you. I just want you to leave me alone. Because at that time, my Aaron, first off, was the only man that I'd ever been with intimate. Mm-hmm. He was the one and only. So when I had that affair, it crushed me. I couldn't even believe that I'd done it. I cried the whole time. Couldn't even believe I'd done it. But it's like when you're in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't know how to get out. And he forgave me instantly. Wanted me to come back instantly. I couldn't forgive myself.
Yeah.
You get out the way you get out the way Peter got out. You know what I'm saying? When he stepped out of that boat and he started to sink. Yeah. And Jesus said, basically, focus on me.
Yeah.
That's how you get out.
Yes.
Of whatever the
But at the time, you don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're struggling.
He was saying that I do what I don't want to do.
Yes.
I don't do what I want to do. Like
yes.
It's this constant,
it's a
I was
constant
talking to Tristan.
battle.
He's a teenager now. I'm saying, listen, I'm telling you, him and I had a hard conversation about some shame. And I said, listen, that feeling you're feeling right now, that doesn't mean we don't love you, but that is your warning and your red flag that you need to run from that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
He was crying. He understood. I'm like, man.
Yes.
Shame sucks.
Yes, it does. It was the hardest thing. The rape, my mom dying, all that was nothing compared to forgiving myself.
Yeah.
Because once we moved, I went, and Aaron had come and he had said, I've collected enough money. I'm getting a lawyer and I'm taking Selena and we're going to get a divorce. And he took Selena and he left. And I put my hands through 2 windows. The friend that was living in the house with me was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, just get away from me. Don't touch me. And I took off walking. To this day, it was total God because
she can't contain it.
It's like I know the story.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's about to get good.
Yes,
it's getting better.
Yes. I wound up on these steps that went down, and I looked up. It was a church. I was sitting at a church, and I was like,
"Thank you, Jesus."
I was like, "Okay, God," and I'm crying, and I'm saying, I don't know how to fix it. Yeah. I need you to fix it for me because I don't know how to fix it. To this day, I have no idea how I got from that church out to that land because it's like 6 miles. I don't know how I got there. I can't remember. I don't know if I hitchhiked. I don't know if somebody took me. I don't know how I got there. I knocked on the door. Aaron answered the door. They were sleeping on a futon. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "The only way this is going to be fixed is if we put God where he's supposed to be. And I don't know what that means." And he said, "We'll be in church Sunday morning."
Wow.
So I came in, we laid down, we cried together, we prayed together, we went to church. We've never stopped going to church. It still, even after that, took 2 years to heal my marriage.
Yeah.
I can remember the day that it healed completely. I was in the shower. I'm waiting for your smile.
She was holding back as much as she could.
I was in the shower.
I love these stories.
And my Aaron, I just started crying. I would do this randomly. If I heard a song about Ohio or, something that brought the shame, on you.
A trigger.
Yeah. And I don't know what the trigger was, but I was in the shower and I just started crying. Well, he thought I'd fell. So he come running in. He's like, "Babe, are you all right?" And I'm like, "No, I just can't get over what I did to us. I hate myself. I hate this, I just can't fix it." And he looked at me and he said, and it was total God, man. I can feel it in my bones now. He said, "If I can forgive you, why can't you forgive you? Because you're still hurting our family by not overcoming it." And it was like, and this is how me and God talk. Now, he may not talk to y'all like this, but this is how he talks to me. God instantly said, "Hey, stupid, are you getting me? Do you got me? Because I got you. Get over it. Let it go." And instantly, I was like, I could feel, and I know people may think, I'm crazy or whatever. I don't care. I could totally feel
God's
the presence
peace
of God
Mm-hmm.
right there in that room with us. And I knew that forgiveness was real.
Yeah.
"I leave you my peace," he says. That's in the book of John. And the thing is I was studying that scripture one day, and it was like, how do you live in peace in such a world that just seems like it's constantly in chaos?
Yeah.
And which it's not. That's our perspective there again,
Right.
which is wrong. God is always in control of even what looks like chaos to us. And I can remember sitting at the table and saying, "Lord, how do we live in peace?" And if you read that verse, it says, "I leave you my peace.
Mhm.
I give you my peace." And so I was thinking, okay, Lord, now, stupid
Right.
human thinking.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, Lord, how do I obtain it?
Right. He's like, "Hey, dummy, pick it up."
How do you catch the wind?
Yes. And you know how you just keep meditating on the word, and you're just like, "Lord, how do I obtain this peace that you're talking about?"
Like you overthink it, trying to figure out
Yes.
the remedy.
Yes,
And all the,
yeah.
the
all the
steps.
equation. It's one of those math problems. and it's
Yes.
like, I want to get this.
Yeah.
Well, like sister, he just hit me over the head with like a brick because he's like, "Read those words again. When you read them. Give, leave. It's easy.
Yeah.
It is so
We
easy
overcomplicate
Yes.
so many things.
Yes.
about God. We do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we dwell on the shame and the guilt of the situation,
Yeah.
or the hurt of the situation.
Well, that's when we're believing in the lie.
Yeah.
We're not believing in the truth or the
Because
promises.
the whole time Satan's telling me, you're not worthy. You did this to your family. You hurt your family. There's no way you can be forgiven of that.
I tell people all the time, shame is the devil's game.
Yes.
It's not God's.
That's
He's
exactly
about,
right.
He's about redeeming and restoring it
Yes.
and turning all that mess into something beautiful.
Yes. And that's exactly what he's done.
He
Because
didn't
now,
come to condemn the world. He
Right.
came to save
Save
us.
it. Yeah.
well, and now, me and my Aaron's marriage is the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. And through all of that, our children are saved. My Aaron got saved. I rededicated my life to God. Through all of that, we've taken on my brother's children, who now 4 of them have been saved, and he has 5. There's no there's just no way to explain it other than God.
Yeah.
I'm a totally different person than I was before. I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, sister, you remember when you used to be so mean when you were mean?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And this one who was the principal of our school said,
Of course.
"Yeah, you remember that time I was going to sit down at the auditorium and you said those seats are taken, and I said, well, we can't save seats, and you said, go on and sit in and see what happens to you." And I was like, I'm so sorry. That was the old me. I'm not that way anymore.
I am so sorry. I'm sorry.
You can have the seats now.
Sit wherever you want. God loves you.
Yeah. You know, and so it can only be explained by God.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have changed for anything else. So and this is what I try to tell people when we go out and do our speakings. The first thing I tell them is, I can sit here all day long and tell you my testimony. And I can sit here all day long and my sister can tell you the word of God. But if you do not want it, it's not going to work for you. Yeah. It's just not going to work.
Well,
you've got to
want,
and you've got to seek God out. If you don't want him, you're wasting your time.
Jeremiah 29:13.
And this is the best thing about God is, even through the darkest times, you can have joy. And I mean that seriously. When our brother died, our brother lived in that lifestyle, drugs and alcohol, his whole life.
He started smoking marijuana when he started drinking like the suds.
We were sipping suds at 2 and 3.
Sipping suds. But he started smoking marijuana when he was 10 and our younger brother was 8.
Yeah. So I mean, they were
40
raised
years,
up
40
in
plus years.
And what our brother says is he was groomed for that life. We were groomed for it. And he spent 50 of his years doing it. And when he got kidney failure, he came to live with my sister, and he turned his life over to God.
She's trying to hide her teeth.
Yeah. And he would say, I hate that I wasted my whole life not serving God.
Well, he told me one morning, we were up at about 4:00 in the morning. I think I was in there reading the Bible and studying, and here he comes, and he's drinking coffee, and he and I are talking, and he says, Sissy, if I would have went back out there, I would have died, and sooner rather than later. And I said, yes, brother. I said, you know what? Thank God for kidney failure.
And he would literally go around saying that. Thank God for kidney failure. He's at stage 5 kidney failure. Thank you, God.
People don't understand that.
Yes.
That was his pivot point.
Yes.
And he said he was realizing the difference in the lifestyles.
What took him 2 years for his mind to get clear from the drugs,
from the chemicals and stuff.
I mean, you don't think that but it is. We could totally, like when he first started coming off the drugs, he would talk, and we'd be like,
"What is he talking
about?
What
are they talking about?" He's really lost his mind.
But about the 2-year mark, he could see it in we could hold a conversation.
Yes. So it was like his mind was starting to get clear.
Yeah. And he said to me one day, he said, when he was starting to realize the difference, the contrast, he was able to contrast living without God, living a life not following God, compared to the life of following him. And he said, Sissy, he said, I've hustled myself out of the good life. Yeah. And that is what we do. I mean, we hustle ourselves. We allow, the battle, the
circumstances,
the spiritual
in our
battle of darkness, evil against good, and we believe most of the time in our lives, we believe the lies of Satan rather than the promises of God. And we hustle ourselves out of the good life.
Yeah. And that was his thing too, was once he turned his life over, he said, I want to do what y'all do. I want to tell people about my testimony so that they can receive salvation too. And when he died, I told my sister, I said, we're going to tell his testimony. We're going to do it for him. Mm-hmm. And so we always make sure to implement him in our speaking somehow, some way. Yeah. Now, we officiated his funeral. And this is what I mean by you still have the joy through the darkness. even though our brother died. And we only got 3 good years with him.
We did, as we were officiating, we did cry,
We did cry.
Yeah.
but we did laugh and have a lot of jokes too.
We did. We did laugh and have a lot of jokes. We did.
It's on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I could see when I got the call that, you know, he's gone. And I'm driving 95 miles an hour down Overton.
Yeah.
You know, and I get there and I get out and my sister's standing outside and I'm like, okay, is he gone? Is he gone? You know, I'm crying. And she's like, you know, so I go into the house while his wife is in there and she's still freaking out and they're still doing what is it?
Compressions?
Yeah. And I'm looking at him. He's got a smile on his face. And I tell people this, I did not see his ghost. But you know how when you're pumping gas and you can kind of see the fumes of the gas?
Mhm.
You know, I kind of seen something like that floating up. I don't know if it was his spirit or if it was just God's way of giving me peace about what was happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at his wife and I was like, why are you freaking out? He's smiling. He's ready. He wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I told those guys, y'all can stop doing what you're doing. You know, which they legally they couldn't.
Right.
I don't know. It was the most beautiful death I'd ever experienced, and I experienced my mom's, which was
Trauma.
so bad.
It was
I
very
was
traumatic.
so
Really?
traumatized. We were in the room when she was convulsing and died, and I was 12. I watched her take her last breath, and everyone screaming and crying
And I had a better grasp on death in
I did
both
not.
cases
Well, yeah,
than
being
my
a little
sister.
kid, how can you?
Well, and
Yes.
my mom, they called my mom Superwoman on the cancer ward floor because she was the longest living colon cancer patient. And my dad and my mom never told me that she was dying. And we went to the hospital numerous times and she always came home. You know, so this time when she did not come home, and I can remember, this is something too that I usually tell in my testimony. The day we walked out of Mother Francis, the nuns came and they wanted to pray for us because we're all crying.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, okay, and we're all gathering hands. And I said, I'm not holding y'all's hands. And my dad's like, get over here, Kelly. You know, your son, get over here, go. And I said, I'm not holding their hand. Their God is the one that took my mom. I'm not holding their hand. I'm done. You know, so I can remember that was the day that I hated God. And this is what I want people to know when I tell that is God knows your pain.
Yeah.
And even when you say you hate God or you hate what God's done to you or you hate this or whatever, do not let Satan use that to keep you from coming to know God, because God knew my heart. He knew I was hurt. He knew that was my mom. You know, I was instantly forgiven.
God wants us to be a lot more real, I think, than we are sometimes with him.
Yes.
Like we try to put a Band-Aid on and try to make, you know,
Yes.
well, God's going to hate me if I say this or I feel this way. You read the Psalm when David was screaming out. I mean, in my head, I'm seeing him like yelling up at the sky, like, God, where are you? My enemies are surrounding me. But then he says stuff when he's by himself to lift himself back up and say, but you've never failed me. You know, it's this constant, I mean, we're human. We're constantly up. We're constantly down. We're constantly feeling like it's the worst moment of our life.
Yes.
And then on the other side of it, we can see that God was there the whole time. But things like that, I think God's in the middle of those.
Yes.
And he waits for the perfect moment to use them to bring us closer to him.
Yes.
Every time.
Well,
Yes, he
and
does.
even Jesus Christ, when he walked the earth, he said, how many times did he say, you know, God, remove this cup from me?
Yeah.
But your will. You know, even then not that he hated his father, but he was asking, you know, don't make me go through this if I don't have to.
Do I really have to go through this?
Yeah.
And even his last moments, why have you forsaken me?
Yes.
I mean, those are real questions that I think sometimes we try to brush over, or we don't want to make God mad. He's too merciful and graceful to be mad at us for having questions or being angry with him or the situation.
Yes.
He wants us to come to him and ask
our
questions.
is to blame him.
Yes.
And point blame, especially if you're not living for him.
For him, that is true.
Yes.
But that's always the path to him, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's just awesome.
So yeah, this is our story, and this is how we came up with Hell's Angels, and we speak all over. And
now, how long have y'all been doing the Hell's Angels?
Oh gosh, we were doing it
6 maybe six or
We've
8 years,
had it
maybe.
6 or so years, but we've took a break since COVID.
Right.
Now, I've been
And
in
all the
ministry
things
for
that we
about
went through.
36 years.
Yeah.
And my sister, just different ministries.
And even through COVID, we were still ministering. We just hadn't done any speakings.
Right.
Now, we did we did one live.
Yeah.
We did Brothers, we facilitated his funeral.
Yes.
And then I think we did one live after that. And
Yes.
then we
and we
the Lord
spoke
has
at
had
we
us in
spoke at a
valley.
church after that.
Yeah, we have.
We have-
You've spoke. Well, we've spoke several times
Yeah.
at the sex traffic
Yes.
ministry. Several times there. We've spoke at our church.
Now, where's that at? The sex trafficking ministry
It's out of Tyler.
in Tyler. Okay, what is that
Mhm.
called?
Oh my gosh, Refuge of Light.
Refuge of Light. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. And now, which it's all, they house the women
Mhm.
and, no one can know their location and stuff. So it's kind of all private. And we had to go through FBI checks and things like that.
Oh wow. So that's
To-
like super private.
Yes, to be
Mhm.
involved in it.
Wow.
But we went out there
They
and
let you in
spoke.
there?
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
They wanted to keep me.
Can
I
you
know-
imagine?
I know you were like, yeah, I've run in with the FBI. It's on my list. I checked. I've been to jail. It's on all your lists. Okay. So now, do you go? I know you said you do it at your church. You've done it at this organization. Do y'all do events at like churches and stuff?
Yes.
So
We have.
now is it just for women? Is that normally what you gear towards, or is it for anybody?
It is, but we have spoken in front of men too.
Okay.
Well, when we first started doing our lives,
We thought we were only
I,
reaching out to women because we are women, and we were raised pretty much Baptist,
Yeah.
where women don't preach. But we've learned, God's revealed to us through our ministry that we're not preaching, we're telling our testimony, and we can tell that to anyone.
Yeah.
And
we learned that
men
men were
were
watching our
were
lives.
watching us, and they
we
were,
had about 7,000 followers,
yeah,
and men were watching too, and
Yeah.
they were interreacting, making
Yes.
comments, posting comments and stuff. So it was like, oh,
Well, now we have a book writer who's writing our book.
Really?
Yes,
That's
and
cool. You already have a title and stuff for it, or are you just beginning? to
well,
do it?
the editors actually pick the titles.
we can
Oh,
put a
okay.
title to it.
We
but
can
they
give
may
titles,
change it.
but they may change it.
That's cool.
Uh,
Well, you have to come back on when you do your book launch.
yes,
Okay.
That'd be cool.
yeah. And we met her through God too, the book writer, because we
We
went
went
to
on women's Christian.
it's how to
It's
launch your
CCC.
ministry,
Yeah.
and so
That's cool.
So
that's how
we
we met
spent
her.
a week on a mountain
In
in
Lake
Lake
Tahoe.
Tahoe.
Well, I mean, anybody here's God up there.
yeah,
Exactly.
Hey, look,
It's how Moses.
look,
did.
we chased a bear. We got
We
in
know.
trouble for chasing the bear.
Wait, you chased the bear? Didn't chase you. You
No,
chased.
we
the bear?
chased the bear,
Okay,
And it was
that's
actually
not
hers-
totally true.
and it was actually
I
her
chased-
stupid idea.
I chased the bear.
Okay, look,
She
let me
just
draw
followed
the
behind me.
picture out for you. Let me draw the picture out for you, okay?
You chased it. She's marking it off her list, saying she did it.
No,
it was
she did
the- it was
chase
the
it.
other way
She
around.
did chase it. I was the smart one. Okay, I was the smart one. We're standing outside of we have a manager over our ministry.
Yeah.
We're standing outside her window, and she's got the window open. It's got a screen, and we're just talking to her while she's getting ready. And
Jackie Weems.
yes, Jackie Weems is her name.
Shout
And
out.
all of a sudden, my sister's like, "Oh my gosh, sister, there is a bear beside you." And I said, "You're lying. You are so lying."
It was.
And
right
I looked
there.
over. The bear is literally right there by the table. And I was like,
And there's nothing between you and the bear.
No.
"Woo!" And I'm
Nothing
like,
at all.
I wouldn't have been saying it that quiet.
I'm like,
Bear.
okay, we're gonna take the screen off. We're gonna climb through the window. Okay, take the screen off. Climb through the window. And she's like,
But he was walking.
but
by.
he's just walking by. And she's like, he's walking by. Let's just follow him.
Let's go.
And I
see
was
him.
like,
Just
let's
follow
go.
him.
I'm like, are you crazy?
Let's go
The
there.
bear can eat us.
Yeah, easily.
But when you're going up the mountain, like as you're arriving, you've flown in on the plane and they're
And
driving
there
you
was
up
a
the
prayer,
mountain.
the portal of prayer. Where you're sitting on
And
the
you're
side
thinking,
of this
Lord,
water
let
and
me
you're
see one of
praying.
let me see one of your creations.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
we're
saying?
praying for this. Okay.
Let us see a bear.
Sound like one of you was praying for.
Yeah.
This one did.
Yeah.
The other one's praying for escape.
Look, I'm trying to get us out. So then she's like, let's just follow it and see what happens. I'm like, it's a bear. It can eat us. It's faster than us. Look, we're fat. We are fat. And she's like,
We were fatter then
Yeah.
than we are now.
she's like, sister, we're just going to be real quiet. So she's following this bear, and I'm like,
I kept telling her,
Okay.
come on,
Okay.
get your phone up here, because I never.
Okay, so I got the
take my
phone. I'm getting the
If
phone. I
we're
got the
doing
phone.
something like with the Lord,
Yeah.
then I don't bring my phone in
Yeah.
or carry it with me.
I got the phone, and I'm doing the phone. Well, I see the door to the entrance of our hotel, so I'm like, hey, we got this door. Look, we can go right in. He's going up the steps. We can go in, and she's like, let's just see where he goes. He's not even turned around and looking at us, and I'm like, oh my
So
god.
the
We're
bear
gonna
never
die.
looked at y'all?
He
No.
never looked at
No.
us.
He went up these stairs, went and got up on the top land because it was like a drop off.
It was a mountain.
And so the road and stuff was up.
Yeah.
So he went up the
Just
stairs
kept
and he
going up
went on
and
the
up.
road. So we're following him down the road. Well, she's ahead and she's like, come on, sister, get up here, get up
Get the
closer.
camera up here.
And I'm like, no, because if he turns around, he's eating you first and I got a chance to get away. And she's like, oh my gosh.
Then later she turns it around like she was the one chasing the
I
bear.
said, hey,
because
we
she had the
chased this
picture.
bear. Y'all better look out.
Well,
And I got the proof because it's on my phone.
that's true.
She has no proof.
I didn't have anything.
And so there was actually this man out cooking bacon. So
Is that
we're
where he was going?
No, he went and got berries. He was eating berries.
Yeah.
And so I told this man, I said, hey dude, I just want you to know a bear
You
just
need to
walked
quit-
by here. You better
quit
quit cooking the bacon.
Hey man, I'm just.
And he's like, he said, you're lying. I said, no, the bear
No.
just came through here. We followed it. He's like, y'all followed it.
My phone.
And I said, look, here it is on my phone. He's like, oh my gosh. He's
Send
like,
that to me.
he's
says.
like, send that to me. And I said, well, you can't be saying you chased the bear.
He probably said it.
I
He
chased the
probably
bear.
said it.
And so I sent it to him. Well, then our ministry what are they called? What are they called? My mind just went blank. Our cards that you pass out.
The business card.
Business cards. Okay, they're $100 bills.
I knew you were fixing to go there.
That we printed up.
That's got our picture on it.
Yeah.
You know, we made copies of $100 bills, but it's got our face in the middle of it. And they look like, I told her I want them to look real. And so we fold it up to where it looks like a $100 bill, and then we'll throw it down. You know, and somebody will pick it up, so they got our business card, you know?
But it's got a verse of scripture on it. you
Yeah.
know?
And so I told that man, I said, hey,
Where the
man,
Spirit of
we
the Lord
want to
is.
give you this. We want to give you this. And he's like, oh my
Why are you
gosh,
giving me
really? Why are you giving me
$100?
$100? And I'm like, oh, you'll find out later. Take it to your wife. You know, and he's like, okay, all
Find
right.
out when you try to spend it.
Oh, we had
The
someone
marketing.
try to spend it.
Yeah, we did.
Remember?
We did have
Oh.
someone try to spend it. Like, oh, Lord. I'm like, look, you may get in the photo album after all. Counterfeiting money. You're going to the federal pen.
Going in with that mugshot.
And you know what's funny about that? I mean, oh my goodness, like all this ties together. It's so funny. Okay, so we had a sister-in-law in our family that she did these kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Like
She was on the Wheel of Misfortune. Do you remember when they used to do that? On the KOTV where they had spin it and they were looking for a criminal? Yes.
yes.
She
okay.
was on there.
So she did counterfeit checks and things like that, 52 felony accounts, I think she
Yeah.
was in jail for.
Yeah.
And so I would sit and think, how do you even counterfeit? I
We
mean,
figured
how
it
do you
out.
do this?
Well, I mean,
We figured it
Next
out.
thing you know, I'm making our business cards.
business. They're just business cards.
Look, we went to one speaking and I was throwing them out like this. People were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then that's
Have you
not
seen
really.
those guns? They shoot out the money, the cash.
We need that.
Oh, where do you get? I bet Amazon.
Probably on Amazon.
Amazon
I'm gonna look on
has
there.
Shoot
that.
out the money. That would be perfect.
I'm going to find one of those. I'll get on Amazon and look.
Get on top of a building, down over to the shoot.
Family photo album. Here I come.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. I
Very
mean, just, I don't know. Really, and that's really what's awesome about our ministry too is where God brought us from and where we are now and how he takes us all over and we meet different people and actually when we took our book writer, she said, I'm going to need to meet y'all's family at some point. And we're like, the Cherokee family? And she's like, yes. And we're like, okay, are you sure you would? You know, so I'm like, okay, well, we got to give you the 411. Okay, and she's like, okay. And I said, we got one cousin that when you show up, she's going to moon you. Because that's just her, that's her thing.
Is that her greeting?
That's
or
her
what?
signature move, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
And, so we're trying to explain all these different personalities, right?
This would be a good TV show. I mean, come on.
We've had several people tell us that. Y'all should have your own TV show.
Reality TV.
So we tell her, okay, we're gonna go to Brownfield, which is where we're from, where the family's at. And we're telling her the date. She's like, I'm going with y'all. So we're like, okay,
Okay.
all right. So she comes, she meets the family. She goes into where did she get the things? Was it the
It
city
was
records
the-
or
Yes, county records. I think.
county records? She goes in there because she wants to get all the.
No, it was
What
the
are they
newspaper.
called?
Newspaper.
Oh, it was the
office.
newspaper.
Microfiche.
She's wanting to get all those to
The what?
the microfiche.
What is that?
It's where all the newspaper backlogs are for years and years and years, and you can get on the little
You know,
screen
they're
thing and
archived.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and you can get on there and look at. And she
Yeah.
wanted to
Oh.
look and see what she could find. Well, she's like, girls, I want y'all to stay in the car, and I'm gonna go in because most people won't talk to you if they see that you're there, you know. So I want them to be more open. And so we're like, all right.
We're like, tell us
she's
everything
wearing
you
a
find out.
Hales Angels t-shirt because we have Hales Angels t-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. So she goes in and she's asking, you know, telling them who she is. She comes back out and she's like, wow. And we're like, oh gosh,
Tell us
man, what
everything.
happened?
And
What
she
happened?
says, I'm not telling y'all everything.
Yes.
I'm gonna
So
leave
we don't
some
even
things to
know
the book.
everything. Yeah. So she's like, well, they asked me what I was doing with this, and I told them that I was writing a book about a couple of the Hales. And she said they just looked
Off
at me
the record,
they said,
and they look at each other.
yeah, they're like, this is totally off the record, right? And she's like, yeah, sure. And she said, honey, you need to get
Stay
away from that
away from these
family.
people.
You don't need to be around that family. And she's like, really? And they're like, yeah, they're bad people. And so she's like, okay, all right. So then she comes out, she's telling us all this. Well, then we go to the hotel. Well,
We took her to the library so that she could look.
we got
at
kicked out of the library because of me.
What'd
We did get kicked out of the library.
you do in there?
Well, because the electricity went off, so they were saying, okay, you know, y'all have to leave. We have to close up and I'm like, why? There's lots of, we can open up the windows. We're researching. Why do we have to have well, ma'am, it's just standard. You have to, you know, we're asking you to leave. And I'm like, we're literally sitting right here just looking at can we check the books out? And she's like, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask y'all to leave. So I was like, okay, we're leaving. Let's go before I go to jail. And she's like,
again.
she's like, Joy Sarah's her name. She's like, sister, come on, let's go. You know, so we get out. Well, then we go back to our hotel. And now she's married to, his name is Jess. And we immediately, when we met him, it was like he was our brother, our long lost brother. And he's like, what? 6 foot what?
Oh goodness, I don't know.
He's a big
6
guy.
foot,
And
8.
he's a 5th generation.
No, seventh generation.
I don't know, he's
cowboy,
cowboy.
like real cowboy.
Oh, actually,
Like rides his horse.
Can you
to
imagine
work.
Indian with cowboy?
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
fight?
I will find it. He's like towers over me. But she goes to her room, and the next morning she's telling us that she called Jess, and she's like, well, I called y'all's brother, because that's what we call him, brother. And she said, I told him, okay, I met the family, and he said, well, were the sisters telling the truth? Was it as bad as, you know, they said it was, or did they exaggerate a little bit? And she said, oh no, the sisters are truth tellers. They're truth tellers. And he's like, well, do I need to come there? And she's like, nope. They said as long as I'm with them, that I'm protected.
Oh,
So yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
hilarious.
yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, God is
It's all
truly
about,
awesome.
It's all about God.
I never thought in a million years I'd be where I am now from the life that I came from.
Yeah.
I mean, there
I
were
have that thought often.
so many, and there's so many things still happen to me that I didn't even touch on. I quit school because, you know, my dad wouldn't take me to school, and then we kept moving from White House to Overton, White House to Overton, White House to Overton. He wouldn't take me and check me into school. So I had a friend, she was my best friend, and she was like, just ride the bus and you can do it yourself. So I was like, okay. You know, so I ride the bus and I'm in the 7th grade, and I walk into the principal's office, and I'm there to check myself in, enroll myself. I don't have any parents. And I go in and the principal's like, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm just here to check myself in, dude. And he's like, well, first off, you're going to go back out that door and you're going to come back in with a better attitude. And so I was like, okay. So I went out the door and I left because it was like, I'm already humiliated and
Well, you're already down.
I'm already punched down in the dirt. I don't need you to add to that.
A kid coming in to
Yeah.
check themselves in.
I mean, that should have been a
the
red
first
flag.
clue. Yeah, you would
Something's
think.
wrong.
But needless to say, you walked across the stage and
I did.
graduated
I did.
the same year that Selena graduated.
Yes. Yeah, I went and got my GD and stuff. And so there's just so many things like that
Yeah.
that God I think once you turn your life over to him, he not only starts cleaning your life out, he starts growing you and prospering you in certain areas. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and when you draw near to him, he draws near to
He
you.
wants you to feel, I really truly believe God wants you to feel your worth, you know, through his eyes, not through other people,
the value that he places on us.
you know, and not through yourself, you know, because we, most of the time, and I'll probably say 100% of us believe that we're not worth much.
Yeah.
And I think God wants us to believe that we are, because he tells us in the word that, I mean, he set us above the angels. That means something.
I think that's why the enemy fights us so hard, is because he's so mad that he can't obtain the grace and the mercy that
Right.
God gives us. He can't restore himself.
Well, and he
Right.
can't gain
But he
God's
always-
power.
He always has to watch us be raised up by
Right.
God,
Mhm.
Yes,
and he can never
that's
have
true.
it. I'd be mad too if I was him.
Yeah,
But
That
I mean,
is true.
he wants God's throne,
Yeah.
and he'll never obtain that,
no.
ever. And if he can obtain a piece of that through us,
And that's what he's doing.
you know,
Yeah.
if
That's
we
what he's
allow
doing.
if we allow him to. The thing is sanctification. You know, we hear, like my whole life going to church, we always hear about salvation, and salvation is key.
That's the key.
Jesus Christ is key. I know that there's a lot of, especially Hollywood famous people that say, "Oh, there's 1,000 ways to get to heaven." There's not.
No, there's only one.
The Word of God says there's one. Jesus Christ is the door. He's the only way to the Father, and there is only one. That's Jesus. But we hear a lot about salvation, but we rarely hear about sanctification. And sanctification is the lifelong process of the Holy Spirit
Growing you closer to
growing
God.
you closer to the Lord, cleaning out, refining, making us more like Christ.
Well, it's so that we can tell others.
Yes.
You know, and I truly believe, I mean, I can remember being little and my dad saying, you know, God's coming soon. God's coming soon. And I can remember thinking, oh, okay, whatever. Because you heard it so much, you know.
Every pastor will
Yeah.
always say it like,
He's
"Oh,
coming
the
soon.
Lord's coming back.
He's coming soon.
Could be tomorrow."
You know, but now I think, of course, we're even closer.
Yeah.
You know, and with everything that's going on in our world, I told my sister the other
Everything
day,
going on in Israel.
I feel like God is saying it's urgent that we get out. It's urgent. It's time.
Speak
it's time
your-
for Hill's Angels to get back on track
Speak your testimony.
and tell people about Jesus and what he's done for you. And I don't care who it is. Man, woman, kid.
And our story doesn't stop with yesterday. You know, our story goes on today.
Yeah.
You know, my husband, who is that alcoholic, you know, and he says, "I'll always be an alcoholic." You know, I will always be. Now, will he always be a drinking alcoholic? No.
They call it a dry alcoholic.
That's what he calls
He doesn't
himself
drink
as,
anymore.
And so
But the urge is still there.
now he's not a man that tells his testimony. Okay, and we have very little communication about.
Actually, there was one time that he told Loretta she couldn't tell it.
Okay, well, and that's what I was going to say when we started.
I mean, we were going to do one about alcoholism and drunks and
no, it
and-
was. Remember, it was physical abuse in the
Oh.
alcoholism.
and he was like, no.
Now, first, when Hell's Angels first came about, and the Lord first called us to Hell's Angels, my husband said, "I'm going to back you 100%.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you need, 100%." So we're doing all these lives, you know, and we decided one day, okay, we need to do physical abuse, you know, and so I went to my husband first and to prepare him and to tell him, okay, we're going to do this physical abuse. And he's like, "I didn't physically abuse you," you know, and he's real upset about it. So it was like, okay, that we cannot do that one right now, you know. I mean,
Yeah, he
it
was
just
like,
can't
no.
be done right now.
Wow.
And so, but about 2 months ago, and I mean, God has like completely changed our lives. I mean, I'm talking about we went from owning a railroad construction company to going through COVID to not having a company at all, selling everything we've got, you know, and
Having money to being broke.
yes. And I mean, going from a 5,000 square foot home to a 1,000 square foot home, which is another beautiful story, you know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love what God has done for us. About 2 months ago, we're sitting in Sunday school, and he's over there telling part of his testimony, and people in the class are asking him questions, and I'm like going, who that person? Who it is?
Where'd you come from?
My daughter even says, Mom, has he been watching way too much Ancient Aliens? Maybe yes.
That's the conclusion.
Maybe yes, absolutely. From that to coming home and saying, we need to be thinking about an overcomers class. When he says, now I don't like to use overcomers, and I said, overcome is a word in the Bible, honey. Don't
sure
be
enough.
ashamed to use overcome. And so now he is going down an avenue where
he's fixing to get jacked up. That's what about to happen.
This time she lit up. She's like, he's going to get jerked up.
I don't know if he knows it or not, but it's coming. He got to do the 12-step program himself.
Don't scare him away from the program.
You know what I'm saying? You better get ready. You better put your boots on.
But I mean, he's been telling me, he calls me Mama and I call him Daddy. And he says, Mama, do you think that, this is what the Lord's calling me to, is this, celebrate recovery, this overcomers.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
And he has had events in his life just in the last month where God has placed these certain people in his life. And he's went and talked to the pastor of our church. And the pastor's like, I've been wanting this to happen in our church for several years now. And then he goes to one of the meetings and he comes back and he says, this is a big thing. They feed these people. They do music. You've got to have people that babysit, all of this stuff he's saying. And he said, how
about the 12-step thing?
What about it?
About the book or whatever. He's like, do you know that they have to do this 12-step program?
Oh, when he was telling me, no, he was saying I made a mistake. And I was like, what was the mistake you made? Because we've been to AA meetings and NA meetings.
We know all about it.
Overcomers classes and all of these kinds of things in our ministry. And just helping people, and going into, what is Sunshine? It's a
Sunshine Lighthouse.
Recovery
It's
program.
a rehab for
really,
women.
It's I guess.
But
anyway,
it is. They house them for, I think, 2 years is the
help them get jobs, things like that.
Get back on their feet.
We
so
help with places like that here.
Yes,
It's awesome.
And so he's never been involved in these things, So the first time he went to the Celebrate Recovery, he said and he's really a proud guy, and so he puts his name tag on, with his first and last name. And so he's like, I made a mistake.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. So anyway, it just
he's like, it's supposed to be secret. Did you know it's supposed to be secret? Yeah, we know.
You
Phone
can't
number, address.
You can't talk
Routing
about
number?
this in public, Mom. I'm like, yep, I know.
That's hilarious. Okay, so as kind of a closing thing, if somebody wants to schedule y'all or get in touch with y'all, where can they find you? You can social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. What do y'all have? Or email?
We have Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a a web page, but it's down. We don't have it right now. We're trying to
We had a
reboot all that
beautiful
back up.
webpage.
Yeah, we did.
We'll have to get it.
We do
going.
have Instagram. We do have
YouTube channel.
we have a YouTube channel.
Now, is it all underneath the Hales Angels name? Or is
Yeah.
it y'all's personal one?
No, it's all underneath Hales Angels.
Hales Angels, the sisters.
And it's HALES.
Mm-hmm.
And the sisters is in quotation marks if you want to look us up on Facebook.
Okay.
Because we have had people say, we looked that up and it's a bunch of bikers. We're like, yeah, we know we're not the bikers. Although she did have a Harley.
I did have a Harley. I had a.
We could have been the
Screaming
bikers.
Little Fat Boy. We were bikers for a little bit.
Yeah.
And race car drivers.
So yeah, Facebook is really our main thing right now.
Okay.
And I mean, all our information is on there, and you can even do my personal or her personal, which is Kelly Gore or Loretta Posey.
Loretta Emery Posey. Loretta Emery.
Yeah.
Parentheses.
But yeah, and usually we don't charge. We've never charged. If they want to donate, that's fine. We do have our 501c3.
We do.
We let God get us there.
For us, it's more about just.
We don't want someone to say, "Well, we can't book them because we can't afford them." We never want that to happen.
Right.
I mean, if you can't give anything, that's okay. If you feel God calling us, you want us to come speak, we will.
We're all things God.
Yeah. And we know
Wherever
that
God calls us,
he's going to lead us
he'll
where he wants
provide.
us to go.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
you know, yeah, so Facebook really is our main.
Hey, we'll sew tents to get there.
I know that's right. We sleep in
Wherever
our,
we gotta
we
go.
have slept in our car before. Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
We'll chase bears. I mean, whatever.
You're going to go first, but yeah, we'll chase bears.
Did you put that on YouTube or anything? That could have went viral. Did you post it?
No, I should
We
put that on.
didn't.
I need to put that on TikTok.
You just have a picture though. We don't have a video. We should have.
I do have a video.
You have a video of us doing that?
I got a live video of
Of us chasing the bear?
yeah.
See, she had the camera the whole time.
We got in trouble too. They came over the intercom and were like, okay.
When we went to eat lunch at
they
the,
were like,
the
okay,
cafeteria.
we need to tell people that aren't from here. We don't
Here
chase
are
the
the
bears
Well,
We don't take selfies with the bears.
with bears because we did that too.
to some people that would be obvious.
Not
To
us.
the local people, but y'all ain't mountain folk.
Hey, I think it was that Cherokee that's in us.
Hey, I mean,
Our people did chase bears.
if you're tough enough to wrestle a bear,
Look, we do.
Well,
have
I'm
our-
not sure. Tough enough.
We do know a guy that did get in a ring and fight a bear. Job.
an actual bear,
Oh,
Yes.
he did.
Yes, he
I forgot
did.
about that.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
a crazy person.
He was crazy. He was big as a bear.
That's
Really?
probably what's wrong with us. We got all these crazy friends.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you gotta
Crazy-
have fun.
Crazy
Yeah.
family, crazy friends.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is us.
Jesus is the key.
Yeah.
The only
Lord.
key.
Well, thank y'all for joining me today, Loretta and Kelly with Hales Angels, and make sure that everything that they talked about today, their social media, shoot them a message on Facebook if you want them to come to your church. Make sure that you go to all their social media, follow them, subscribe to their stuff. You are on YouTube?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And give them a follow on their Instagrams, and make sure to share their stuff, and we will see you next time.